Hi, Sam Baxendale, co-founder of Kinetic Hiring. So for the third installment of our frequently asked question session, we've got an inquiry from Ian, who's head of HR from a well-known conglomerate here in Malaysia. And he's got a big question today, so I'm going to attempt to tackle it. He's asking, how can we get more females into leadership roles? And I guess Ian's referring here to the so-called glass cliff that females often face when it comes to moving through the junior ranks, intermediate ranks, and into more senior roles. It's certainly been my observation. I think it's very well documented as a global trend, and one we see here in Malaysia. The books are fairly balanced between male and female at the graduate ranks, junior ranks. But as you get to that sort of 10-year mark, there is this drop-off, and we see less female managers, females in senior leadership roles, and senior and sort of C-suite as well. So there is this drop-off, and it's something that so many businesses and society in general is trying to tackle right now. So it's difficult to answer this question. I think there are 5 things though that are sort of recognized to be key influences in supporting women into leadership roles for the long term. I think point 1 is promoting choice within the workplace. I think there's one thing that we've seen coming out the back of this sort of COVID experience. It's this increased indexing on personal choice when it comes to work styles. So certainly the hybrid model of being able to choose between working from home and going into the office, moving away from dogma of the commute and spending a certain amount of hours in the office when you've got home commitments, is certainly going to drive retention, and in turn that's going to keep more females in their roles and enable them to develop and build into sort of that leadership capacity. So it's not a one answer solution, by the way, it's multiple things, but that certainly can play a critical role. So the more we see people staying in their roles and building their profile within businesses, whether male or female, the more likely we're going to see more females, emerge into those senior positions. So promoting choice is key. Number 2, working on succession planning. I think if you plan for the future, if businesses plan for the future, they can actually see things actually taking place that are positive when it comes to getting more females into a senior role. So what I mean by that is, if businesses very deliberately look at their current workforce and look at the skills that are there, look at individuals and their competencies, and look at a roadmap of where the business can go over the next 2 to 3 years, which roles and which functions need to be populated and which skills are needed for that, then actually you can take a very objective view as a business and ensure that you get a very even spread of male and female into those roles and develop your staff accordingly. Businesses need to avoid silos, and I think there are certain roles and functions that unless it's looked at, females might end up moving into by default based on dogma or legacy thinking. We need to ensure that females and males are spread in terms of functions across all the different roles within the organization, and competencies are developed accordingly. So the more that businesses deliberately drive succession planning and look at competencies and look at roadmaps and train their staff accordingly, the better. The third point is to look at areas where females might be underrepresented. There are these so-called STEM skill sets: science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. As we move into a more skills-based sort of work culture, specific skills, determinable skills are absolutely key. So if we can get representation from male and female into these roles and attach certain high-value skill sets with both male and female staff, the more that we're going to see those objectivity factors, and the more we're going to see females build their profile as experts, and obviously then grow into bigger roles within their respective organizations. For me, part of that is actually looking at grassroots and thinking about hiring graduates through the ranks and ensuring you've got an even mix of male and female in those respective areas. The fourth point is linked to the third one. It's looking at focusing on skills and competencies as a means of assessing moving staff through the ranks within their organization. The more businesses can work with well-designed assessments that are objective, the better, and the more we can move away from legacy thinking, and the more we can mitigate the risks of either conscious or unconscious bias. So if businesses are applying these objective standards in their assessment, the more we're going to see an even balance of male and female moving through the ranks. Okay? And I think the fifth one is more of a catch-all comment. It's really down to the culture of the organization. Businesses really need to walk the walk. Having a balance of gender within your organization in the leadership ranks, it is not about virtue signaling. It's something that you really have to work at, and there are real benefits to that in terms of building an appealing culture and getting a range of views and values into the organization. So businesses need to work at that. It's a long-term thing. There's no quick fix. And I think it's about businesses really taking that on, owning it, driving that into their culture on a continual basis, and really banging the drum for equality in their organization. So I hope that answers that question. It's a very difficult one, and there's no one solution. It's going to be a compound of lots of smaller things that add up to a bigger whole, but there's certainly massive benefits to it, and it's worth committing to. So I hope that answers that question. Thank you.